Good morning, YouTube. I always say it twice because this thing blinks and it makes me think that it wasn't on at first, but I guess it's on. So, anyway, I'm actually going to be solo today. This is just going to be me and you guys. My girls are vacationing, if that's what you want to call it. They have some things going on today. So, and it's a good thing. Um, so anyway, how are you doing? Don't hesitate to ask me questions if you want to leave questions in the chat or if you just want to say hello. Otherwise, feel free just to watch and observe. That's cool too. I don't mind. It doesn't make me feel weird in any way. But anyway, I'm glad to be here this Sunday, as always. Um, I wrote down a few things that I wanted to talk to you guys about since the girls are not going to be here. I don't want to run out of topics just to kind of keep you guys occupied for a little bit. So, I don't know how much of some of my prior videos you've watched, but I've been doing a lot of research about my history, my personal history. And I'm not the type of person that does the whole 23 and me thing. Um, as most of you know, I'm an energy healing practitioner, but also to be able to do that, I have to be able to pull from insights deep within. And I've been talking about this a lot in some of my videos on other platforms. I don't talk about it a lot on this channel. I also have a different channel where I post things called July. But I talk a lot about going within and being able to pull information from deep within the recesses of your own personal DNA. And I can do that by means of reading pictures and allowing thoughts and visions to come up when you're in somewhat of a meditative state. So I'm able to do that when it comes to not just myself, but even others, if they give me permission, if that's something that they want to do, you know. It's not just something that we just go into. And I certainly don't even, it's not something that just happens all the time, you know, without the intention. But it can, as a matter of fact, it can happen without setting the intention. And a lot of us don't recognize that that's where we get a lot of our knowledge and information from, our gifts, things that people label as wise for, or someone who just seems to have like an old soul or something like that, they'll say. So just being able to do that, that's how I have been getting my questions answered, my personal questions. So I had been really wanting to know a lot about my origins, my personal origins. Things that happen to you when you're a youth or when you're like very young, usually those are also like, telltale signs of, they give you clues into things that you're trying to look into. So for me, I've had a lot of those clues and I've alluded to some of those in some of my videos, like thinking that my dad was an Indian. The Indian statue that I used to see all the time in the Evergreen Plaza. And I used to embarrass my mom because, I would just blurt out, "Look, there's daddy." I used to suck my thumb when I was little. That's why I have this overbite. But anyway, I used to suck my thumb and then I would just take my thumb out my mouth and blurt out, "Look, mom, there's daddy. Daddy's right there." She's like, "Girl, if you don't shut up," because it, probably made her look like she was doing something outside her. relationship with my father to other people, and that's probably why she was embarrassed. But anyway, I've always had a strong sense of connection towards the, you know, what America calls the Native Americans. So that's one thing. The other thing has to do with dreams that I've had all my life growing up. So um, certain abilities that I've had always made me question, like, why do I have, the ability to feel spirits when they're around me? And why am I not afraid? And it is never something that I spoke about, especially not to my family, because of the religious beliefs, the way that we grew up. The way that I grew up, I was fifth generation Jehovah's Witness. So they would label that as something demonic. And so I dare not talk about anything like that. But it never brought in any type of evil influence. It never brought any type of discomfort or any type of malice into my life, nor did it bring anything into the home. These are just things that just happened. They were just natural occurrences for me. And so, after really um, looking into those things and the abilities that I had to affect people with my mind um, as a young girl. I would notice, and the only reason I noticed it was because of my mom and because of her reactions to me. It made me realize that if someone tampered with my emotions or got me upset or made me angry, that there would be something almost supernatural that happened. And that's the only thing that I was able to really go by. And then also, too, I've discovered that I have what I personally call an energy ball. There's an energy ball, and I don't know if in my community they would refer to it as your aura or what. But for me, it came as a download that I have this energy ball that contracts and expands, and people feel it when they are interacting with me on mostly any level. Sometimes that energy ball precedes you, and people notice it. Um, and they usually can feel you. Your energy is so strong that they can feel what you're feeling, how you're feeling, things like that. So yeah, and asking for answers, I realized too that my energy ball is something that can reflect back to me. So whenever I would feel like um, someone that I, had a relationship with was making me feel like a deep internal series of emotions, something that, it's kind of rare. It's not something that I feel quite often. I can say maybe I probably can count on one hand how many times I have experienced that. But because of my questions and because of the downloads and because of the fact that I am cognizant of receiving answers once asked, then I realized that they are a reflection of the energy that I put out. And that's actually my energy that I'm feeling. And it was really mind blowing for me because I was like, is this what people feel? Is this what they feel when they are having any type of interaction with me? And people would tell me or try to tell me, but I never really fully. understood until I started realizing that I was almost receiving a taste of my own medicine. And it doesn't necessarily mean, a bad thing. I'm just saying, that I could feel what they were feeling. And that was pretty interesting for me. So it made me really, a lot more conscious of my intentions rather than going into things blindly with no intentions or unintentionally, but more cognizant of the intentions that I put out when I am dealing with people, especially people that I love, wanting to make sure that that's all they receive from me is love. Nothing in addition to that, if possible, because we as humans have the ability to change people's moods and to change their emotions. And that can be, a good thing. It can be not such a good thing. So yeah, just it's amazing how when you start to ask for answers, you start to receive all the information that you're looking for. And I don't believe that there is any question that can go unanswered. I firmly believe that. I really do believe that. And um, I started to learn about where these where these abilities were coming from. And I think that it's a good time to talk about this, since I'm just here without the girls. And, I did get a chance to talk about it a little bit when I was on with AJ a couple weeks ago. But it's even nicer to be able to talk about it on um, a stage where I can just flow without having to, change the direction that I'm going in, just so that I can give the most full synopsis possible into where I'm coming from. I still haven't even looked into the things that I saved so that I can talk to those things or talk to you guys about those things. But so usually when you ask for information, it can come by various means. It can come in the form of downloads where you're receiving that information directly straight into your own mind. It also can come by means of teachers. When the student is ready, the teacher will come. I'm sure you guys have heard of that before. Um, Also, and these teachers can be, people that they can be strangers. They can come by means of really, it's like wherever you go, the teacher is going to find you. So I am someone, hi, Synergy Film. Oh, Edward, hi. You're so sweet. Thank you. Good morning to you too. So yeah, I'm just talking about origins, Edward. It's so funny. You guys check out Edward, follow him. He's got some great um what do you do? I think you do like weddings. He's got some great services. He does filming. But anyway, I'm talking about our origins and how you can go about knowing what they are. So these answers, they're usually going to find you based off of what you typically do. So I feel like, spirit reaches you in the best way for you as an individual. So if you're someone who is around people all the time, then usually you're going to start to get some of those answers from some of the people that you're around, especially if you work around strangers or with strangers. It's possible that you may start receiving information that way. Also, like me, I love to do a lot of self help. So that's by means of audiobooks or listening to some of my favorite authors on YouTube. A lot of the, videos that are there from some of the, speaking that they've done in front of large audiences that were recorded. I really enjoy listening to so many different people, so many different people. So, and it has, it's evolved, the people that I listen to. And sometimes it comes back full circle where, like, for instance, one of the first people I started listening to a couple years ago was Dr. Wayne Dyer. Dr. Wayne Dyer. And, eventually I outgrew him. I felt like I seen everything there was to see that was available at the time. And then, like, now, just recently, it came back around full circle. About a couple months ago, I had started listening to some of his videos again for a couple weeks. I'd say about 2 weeks straight. And I was able to get more information from his videos than I had in the past, which reminds me of, like, a really good movie. One of my favorite movies that I've seen recently is an Idris Elba movie called 3,000 Years of Longing. I gain something every time I rewatch that movie. You learn something new after you've seen the end and you understand the plot. And then when you see it back from the beginning, it's like more things start to click. They start to make more sense. And that's how I felt about that movie. So that's the same when you listen to some of your teachers. So I started really getting more deep into the roots of who we are as a people, us as a melanated people. And come to find out, it just makes so much sense that that's where I get a lot of my spiritual gifts. And to be able to share this information, I know it's going to be able to help others because we're all of the same origin, us as a Black race of melanated people. Um, the first thing I had heard of was something called hoodoo. And I'm like, well, what is hoodoo? I never had heard of that before. But basically, it's a practice that originated from, or I'm not going to say it originated, but it kind of like spun into something that we used once we were here in this country. The origin, though, and not to scare anyone, first, let me just give this disclaimer. So many things have been, you know, made taboo so that we would be afraid of who we are, and also so that we would not understand our power and not be able to own our strength and our power, our divine power that we all are endowed with as humans, because that's just who we are, being made in God's image. That's just who we are. So, being made in God's image, we are all God's children. And even that, for some people, is debatable. For me, I look at God as a personification of the frequencies that are dealing in the highest, most potent quantities of love as a collective. And it takes on a form, it takes on a shape, it takes on whatever it is that is helpful for you. And it turns out to be, in my from my what has made sense to me and my downloads and all the data that I've been able to put together, turns out to me that with everyone, um, humanity needing something personified, that's basically what ended up coming together. And so everybody who understands the strength and power of visualization and of the imagination, you start to really understand how things can take on a life of itself. You literally can breathe life into your own creations that stem from your own imagination. I just got this one little piece of hair. Oh, goodness. So anyway, maybe I'll explain that more in another video, but it definitely has a lot to do with, again, frequencies and love and high vibrations and um another another one of my favorite teachers is Dr. Richard, or what do I always want to say Richard because of his middle initial, which is probably not even Richard. Dr. David R. Hawkins. He has this chart that talks about the different levels of consciousness. I strongly suggest that you look at that, and that kind of helps you to understand where I'm coming from. So, knowing that we're made in that image of an intelligence that is completely and just like the epitome of love, we have more power than we have been led on to believe. So they call it supernatural, but there's nothing, you know, odd about it. It's actually pretty organic. And it just makes me think about, have you ever noticed when a baby grips your finger? Have you ever noticed how strong and how tight that grip is? Babies come here with a lot of strength that feels like an overabundance. And I can't even begin to get into people with so-called special needs, like my son with Down syndrome. It's amazing the strengths that you pull from within when it appears that you're lacking in another area. So anyway, just know that they, the the powers that be, the ones with the wrong intentions, they don't want us to know about our strengths and our powers, because then it would cause more of a I don't want to say imbalance, because it really would be, the proper word would be more of a righteous balance, a rightful balance, because right now things are severely out of balance when it comes to humanity and the who's who and who has what and who has to struggle and who has to jump through hoops. Like, that's, things are way off. They don't want to relinquish that power. They would rather keep the masses controlled. So it makes so much sense that we don't know about our true powers, our true abilities. We are powerful beings. We're spiritual light beings. So never take that for granted. So knowing this, being able to finally understand this after so many years, it's appropriate that I'm coming upon my teachers now, because when the student is ready, the teacher will come. Um, what came to be known as hoodoo from, the our melanated race here in this country, is something that originated back in Africa with voodoo. And that's why I gave that disclaimer, because that used to be a word that scared me back in the day. But it actually really just is involving the nature of our beings, of our souls, the things that you can do as just a regular human being is, some people may peg them as like ritualistic. Some people still look at that stuff as like demonic practices, but these are things that we all have natural abilities to do, and you don't need, like the things that people use for some of these practices, because you are the tool. You, as a human being, you have everything within you. And it makes me think about all the things that our body is comprised of, what we're composed of, which is why I love, oh my gosh, I didn't take my sea moss this morning, but I love sea moss because it really fills in the gaps of things that we may be lacking, or, you know, missing some nutrients in. It fills in those gaps. And if you ever look at that list of things that are, and you'll find that, like, if you look up Dr. Sabi has, um, he had become infamous for his recommendations of sea moss and the things that are contained within it. And I think that there's a list that says that there are like 102 minerals in the body, but sea moss has about like 92 of them. And if you look up those those look up the minerals on that list, and you'll see that you are the crystals, you are the metals, you are the stones, you are all of the above. You don't need all of those things. You can use them to help you if that's, something that appeases you. But like, people who have a really strong sense of self don't need it. And I understand that some of us are born with stronger gifts in certain areas than others. Not everybody is necessarily going to develop a gift that they're born with. I'd like to think that we're all born with the same gifts. They just lie dormant. I think that we all have the same abilities and capabilities. It's what you develop, or what's going to be useful for you in your walk of life, or what's going to be useful for you in your purpose, that gets, utilized the most. So for me, those were the abilities that I noticed that I had as a young person, was being able to, I guess, I don't even know what name you would put on it. And I'm not really into the labels, because for various reasons. But I have the ability to affect people, which is why I am right now walking in my purpose as an energy healing practitioner, because I know that my energy can have a direct effect on people. So let's just put it like that. Let's just say it like that. Um, and again, this is something that people can relate to. So I'm going to go back to what I said a few minutes ago in the video. Your energy can precede you. Some people know when you're coming, or some people can tell when they step into a room how your energy makes them feel. So this is not something that, would be a shock to anybody. These are things that we all can understand. Um, there are others who have different abilities that are stronger than what mine are. Say for instance, and I've been learning too how you can develop your gifts. If you just simply have the desire, you can actually develop these gifts. And most of the time, it's how strong your desire is that allows you to be able to step into that gift more easily. So, like some people can see things with their physical eye that others cannot see, that are more of the spirit realm. That I consider that to be a stronger gift than the one that I have, whereas mine is something that comes internally in my mind's eye. The other senses that you have outside of physical, um, these are more of like metaphysical. And I love how there's like, I used to do this illustration that I um, heard years ago, where if you close your eyes and if I say something like the word milk to you, and I tell you to visualize milk, what are you going to see? Normally, you're going to see a picture. And some people, which is rare, some people may see the letters MILK, but most people see either a glass of milk or a bowl of milk or a gallon of milk or a cat drinking milk, something like that. You're usually going to see a picture because our minds work best by means of visualization and of pictures. And so when I receive visions, or if I am receiving a download, it comes within my mind. So the other thing I mentioned earlier was that I can feel if there are spirits in the room or near me or even approaching me. And so it doesn't have to be in the room. It can be someone who's hovering over my aura, over my presence, over my energy. And I spread my aura far and wide so I can feel this not just within my geographic region. There are no limits because this whole place is infinite. So you got to start to look at yourself as such. Everything about you mimics the infinity of the universe, which is why your cells grow the way they do, which is why you rejuvenate the way you do, which is why you evolve the way you do, and you are constantly changing the way the universe is. You're never the same person you was yesterday. You're never the same person you were 7 years ago. You're a completely new being, new cells. It's like almost like a snake that's shed its skin. So when I notice those things, I also receive a vision of what it looks like. And it's not always, it's only if I'm interested. I know that sounds funny, but like if I decide to like peer into like what is that? There's sometimes where it just happens just like that, where it's like, whoa, like I can see what it is. And it sometimes it looks like what you might call sci-fi. And I want you guys to think about when you hear people talk about I know we've all heard I know we've all heard people say that when they make these movies or when people write books that are coming from their imagination, it has to have come from somewhere. As if to say, you can't imagine what's not real. There's so much truth to that. There's so much power in that. Just to shift subjects just a little bit, there's so much power in that. You cannot imagine what's not real. Whatever it is that you've seen yourself achieving means that it already exists. And you merely have to step into it with your thoughts and beliefs. Then your subconscious mind will lead you to it. And that brings me to some of the things that I did want to share with you guys that I did save because I want to talk a little bit about that. I talk a lot about the art of manifesting, and it's something that we've all been doing all our lives. With manifesting, you manifest every day. Um, I did a video talking about how you're either going to be a product of your own manifestation or you're going to be a product of someone else's manifestation. But whatever the case, you are a result of a manifestation, which is why it's important to be intentional about what you want and to be intentional about who you know you are. Because once you are intentional, then the manifestations start to, you know, find its way into your life as it should, rather than it being taken from you, unjustly taken from you. The things that you want and desire were placed in your heart and in your mind by that frequency of love, because that is the natural order of things. Abundance is the natural order of things. The earth is abundant, the universe is abundant. Your body's ability to work on itself, even having an immune system, all of that is abundant unless it is tampered with. Again, you becoming a result of someone else's manifestation. And someone else has manifested you manifesting your own detrimental health situations. So you have to be the one to turn it around and be intentional about being a healthful person with your thoughts. Everything can be turned around with a thought. There is nothing that can't be accomplished with a thought. And the reason why it's difficult is because there is an intricate web of thoughts that we live in. So you want to be careful about whose influence you allow in your life. Because whatever influence comes upon you is what you tend to start to manifest. Again, be very intentional. Sometimes this means you need to write down what your intentions are so that you can be reminded every time you look at it. You never want to forget. This is why they say keep a journal or write down your 5 whys or your 5 goals, or, the things that you want in life. They are yours. They were intended to be yours. Write those things down. Um, Reciting these things has much force using your voice to speak them into existence has much power, and it's very forceful against opposing forces. This universe that we live in is about free will. Some entities try to make it a battle of the wills, but it's all about free will. So I am going to go into the things that I wrote down because, or that I recorded here, because it's a lot of what I'm talking about now. So let's see. um, I'm not gonna say. I'm gonna say my vision is improving because I am learning to manifest more proper vision. See how I'm learning to choose my words more properly. All right. Let's see here. I talked a lot about what you wake up to, like the thoughts that you wake up to. You want to make sure that you wake up in faith, in full assurance of the things that you know that you want to be part of your life. Um, Gosh, I should have brought tissue. Hold on, my nose. Sorry, guys. Okay, so you definitely want to set the intention that what you wake up to is something that you're sure of about yourself and about your life. And you want to use the process of visualization, or which is can be likened to using your imagination to make sure that these things are considered to be your reality now, you know so you want this these are the things that you want, because these are the things that are going to help you live out your purpose. Living out your purpose is the one thing that is fulfilling in life. When you're not living out your purpose and you're living out someone else's purpose, like working for someone who gives you a paycheck rather than maybe finding ways to be the source of your own income, things like that, that can change how you feel on a daily basis about your life. It's a game changer. It's a game changer, you guys. So, visualizing the things that you want are very necessary. um, Also, too, I wanted to um, speak on people who are interested in initiating relationships with entities in the spirit realm. So, again, we're talking about frequency here. Everything is energy, and we all vibrate at a certain, level. We all find ourselves within certain frequencies. And this is how you're able to identify the fact that you're not alone. We're not alone. What we can, what we become aware of with our 5 physical senses, which I call, this third dimensional realm or the 3D thinking and the 3D senses. That's just an inkling of all that truly exists. So if you unzip the veil and look through to the other side, you're going to realize that there's so much more going on than just what you thought. And so I wanted to talk to people about being able to initiate that contact if it's something that you're interested in doing. And so the reason I thought that people would find that, interesting is because a lot of people are now becoming aware of the fact that their ancestors are helping them. And when you think about that, a lot of times people are like, well, who is it? What are they like? Who are they? What are they? What exactly are they helping me with? You know? And for me, it's something that has been new for me because growing up in the religion in the way that I did, I always assumed that what I was taught was true, which was that once they pass away, they are no longer, you know, cognizant of anything. They are like as if they were sleeping in death, waiting on a resurrection. But it's so funny because there it goes. Like I noticed whenever I turn my attention to it, it's so easy to tap into. You tap into it just as easily as this is my favorite illustration that I love sharing with people. If you're walking down the street, you can choose to either greet someone that you pass by, or you can choose not to greet that person that you pass by. Just just because you chose not to greet them, it doesn't mean that they don't exist. They exist. Do you guys really like get the sense of that? Just because you personally choose not to greet someone, it does not mean that they don't exist. So they may not exist in your reality, but they exist. And so that's what I began to notice about the spirit realm and my dead loved ones. So much love, so much respect, so much veneration for those who are on the other side. Our ancestors are here to help us, you guys. And so to tap into that, you merely need to acknowledge that they exist for them to be able to, in your mind, start to take on quote unquote life. Once you acknowledge that they exist, who of us don't want to be acknowledged by our loved ones, right? You ever heard someone say, like maybe, I don't know, in school or work, or someone who has a crush on someone and they say, they don't even know that I exist. They don't know that you exist, but you exist. And then once they acknowledge you, now you can start to have or develop some sort of either friendship or, you know, or whatever desired relationship. So it's the same thing. The other thing is Sometimes you may be approached by those that you're not willing to share your space with or your life with or share your existence with. And it's just as simple as lovingly walking them out the door, so to speak, in your mind. You visualize that. Never do we want to disrespect anyone the same way we wouldn't in this 3D world, in this 3D reality. Never would we want to disrespect anyone in any of the higher dimensions. So, in love, you let whatever entity it is know that they're not invited, walk them out the door. If that's something that's too new for you, if you're more used to the God energy and God frequency and God personality, pray and you will be answered. It will be taken care of. Because no matter what we believe, there exists forces that assist us. There are so many things that we can't do on our own by our own hands, but with our minds, we can always call on help and we receive said help. And so that's why I love talking about that spirit realm. Angels, archangels. I love it. Like we have help at our disposal, you guys. It's all a matter of what you turn your attention to. I wanted to talk a little bit about fear too when it comes to these entities, which is why I had been labeled an exorcist because I don't have fear of things beyond our realm. We all have free will. This is a free will universe. And also, you have an attachment to something that is greater than you. So, if you give way to fear, you're now giving away your free will and you're giving permission to be tormented, so to speak. You merely need to take your power back. And I'm someone who explains this to people or helps them to get their power back by means of energy. So that's the other thing, understanding that fear gives way to things that you just don't want in your life, things that you don't need in your life. This is the type of thing that we're dealing with. And I opened up talking about us as a melanated people. You got to understand that we deal with these type of forces. You're dealing with these type of forces. People like to call it spiritual warfare. Rightly so. You're a spirit. They're spirits. People who want to take your power away and control you do it by means of spirituality. They can't always force you in your physical body, although sometimes they may try when you think of things like police brutality. However, the war is mental. Mental is not part of physical, mental is part of spiritual. So people are using psychology against you. They're using their powers that we all possess as humans that are I just call them ritualistic. They're performing rituals in their minds without any of the physical objects. And this is how they're able to succeed against you. But when you take your power back, you won't find yourself in those types of situations. So, I had made a comment once where it was like, we really want to teach our families and our loved ones how to take our power back so that we're not manifesting the wrong things, because these powers that be, the ones with the wrong intentions, have become masters at manifesting disunity amongst us so that we are manifesting continually and perpetually this disunity amongst ourselves. They have become masterminds at it. And we get confused. Sometimes we want to devise ways that we can escape their yoke, escape their burden, escape the the burdens that they've placed upon us in various all these various ways. But the major way to be able to do it is to take your power back and stop being fearful. You think about that with like animals, right? I talked about that before. Dogs that see that you're afraid, they act a certain way. Same thing with horses. So, anyway, people pick up on energy. We are energetic beings, we are spiritual beings. Let's see if there's something else that I wanted to bring out. There's a lot here though, but I don't have to talk about it all. Oh, yeah, I did say that I was going to talk a little bit more about what you say. Your subconscious mind starts to bring things into existence. So, our thoughts create emotion, and emotions attract things. Your subconscious mind begins to call things into your existence. These are the notes that I wrote down or sent to myself in a text message. Your emotions attract things, and your subconscious mind begins to call things into your existence. This means you are bringing things into your own existence subconsciously without even knowing it. So, when you are putting things on your mind and making it a part of your heart, um, you're now penetrating your subconscious mind. And then, because of that, your subconscious mind will start to bring things into your existence without you even knowing it. So, you know how people say, oh, I just did that subconsciously. I wasn't really actively thinking. That's what the subconscious has a tendency to do. It attracts things. So start to know, instead of it just being something that is just happens to happen, so to speak, where it appears to be that way. I want you to start to get in the know. And the way you do this is by means of using affirmations. So write down what you affirm, write down what you want to see, write down who you feel you are, the sense of your divinity. write it down. Read it every day. If you want to record your voice, reading your affirmations, and then listen to your recording, that's very helpful too, to hear the sound of your own voice. But it's very it's there's a certain force that you're putting out in the universe when you write these things down. So just because these affirmations may not seem true to you in the um, five physical senses that you have here in this third dimension, just because it seems that these things aren't true yet, doesn't mean that they won't materialize or harden into fact. So trust the power of the magic of the human mind that is you. Trust your power. Trust your subconscious mind to go to work for you. Trust the process. In my personal notes, I even wrote down that how I started receiving these downloads at 3:33 a.m. I looked at the clock. It was 3:33 a.m. And then I had started receiving all of these downloads. Oh, I love this one that I talked about too, where it's talking about you can't manifest evil out of pure love. If you wake up and stay alert, staying in that frequency of love, you can't manifest evil out of pure love. Talked about how evildoers want to manifest more evil, but in their case, numbers or quantity is what makes them capable of doing that. And using the mind, the mental strategies, using the spiritual strategies, right? But we have to recognize too that we can stand on the side of evil if we entertain that. That's not something that we want. We don't want to be on their side. We don't want to continue to power their manifestations by visualizing them, by talking about them, by perpetuating them. That's so key, you guys. That's so important. It's important to know things, but just knowing them doesn't mean that we need to keep manifesting them, right? Once we know we have the power to change a course of action, you can win by becoming qualitative in your light, in your love. You can't be light by standing in darkness. You can't even feel lighthearted if you're weighed down by evil. You can't have a happy, loving existence. You can't have happy, loving emotions if your thoughts are always on what the evildoers are doing. So, I know the question may arise, well, how do we educate ourselves about it and spread knowledge without manifesting more darkness? And so I it's about what you fill your cup with, mostly. Battle of the wills, free will. Are you going to use your free will to manifest more love and to fill your cup with more love and light? Love and light, love and light, love and light. There's a reason you've been hearing that so much. So, are you going to manifest that more, or are you going to fill your cup more by entertaining these things that we don't want to see? If we don't want to see them, we shouldn't let them occupy the space in our minds. It's just that simple. Whatever you spend time on, whatever your thoughts are on, you're going to attract. That's just how it is. So, Anyway, I just wanted to share those things with you guys. Look up some powerful affirmations. Sometimes I put them on my social media. Mostly it's about, you know, understanding and recognizing or acknowledging, understanding, and recognizing your origins, your divinity, whomever, whomever, right? Just understand and recognize your divinity. Know that you have divinity within you. Um, Affirm who you are. Affirm all the things that you have been gifted with, the things that you know are your divine gifts, your precious lot in life is all about abundance. So, anyway, I really enjoyed delivering this information to you guys. Sending special love and shouts out to my girls where they are with their families. Really, really love you, ladies. Um, Everyone who's watching, thanks for being here. If you have any questions or want me to expound on any of this information, let me know. I did, oh gosh, okay, so I forgot. There was one thing that a girl asked me to talk about. I told her I would mention it in this video. She commented on my TikTok video that I did, and she wanted to know. I talked a little bit about post traumatic slave syndrome or PTSS. And it's something that was coined by Dr. Joy, um, Dr. Joy DeGray Leary. She is someone that I found her about a year or so ago, could have been a little bit more. But I saw a video where she was talking about that, and it's pretty interesting. I would really look her up. Let me put her name in here so you guys can look her up. Look her up regarding posts. Oops, my space bar doesn't work that well. Yeah, we have that as a people in our community. I really love the way she explained it. And it really had to do with, generations passing down things from generation to generation, including anger, including PTSD, a lot of things that we experience. And so, this in particular, oh, shoot, I spelled it wrong. Sorry, I added it. I don't know where that E came from. Post traumatic slave syndrome. So, anyway, yeah. Um, Everyone does that in their families. They pass down things, right? Um, which is why it's normal for us to have such a hard time as a melanated Black race. We pass down things that we experienced during those times. We pass down lack. But I want everybody to go back further in our history and understand that there is much more to glean from that is not anything that is negative, but is positive 1000%. Just knowing who you are and where you come from, it will erase any trace of PTSS. Okay? Look her up. All right, I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Sunday and a beautiful week. All right, you guys take care.